I'm resuming my lecture, and yesterday, because of some technical problem, it was not possible to show you or demonstrate you the execution of different commands. So we discussed about different kind of files which are being supported by Linux operating system. We have discussed about regular files. We have discussed about directory files, then device files, then links and pipes and sockets. You may not be knowing much about links or pipes or sockets, but we'll discuss these type of files also one by one. But prior to that, we have to see the regular files and directory files which we discussed yesterday. How can we test them, or how can we see them practically on Linux terminal? So as I told you that this may be a regular file, may be a program, or it may be a seminar report or a project report, or it may be a simple text file. So right now, if you see, I am placed in my home directory, and that is user at Ubuntu. Okay. And if I wish to see the complete path, so it's /home/user. Now inside that, if I write ls-i, so as I told you earlier that in case of directory files, we are having merely two column entries, and one is the name of file, and second is the corresponding inode table number. And that is the number. If you go to that table, you will get the remaining details about that file. So when I execute ls-i, you see I am getting some number like 359246. This is the inode number or the address of inode table, and this is actually the name. But merely looking at this column, if you see A, and then below that a.txt, and below that B, so it is not clear whether it is a regular file or it's a directory file. Because if we remain confined to directory file only, then merely looking at the contents of directory file, it is not clear what is the type of that file. So in order to see the further details, what we can do is we are writing, and we are using an option -l along with I. So you can see when I write ls-il, so that means I am interested to know the inode number of every entry of the current directory, and at the same time I wish to know further details, because I'm giving a -l that is in long format. So you see we are having a number of entries, and because of that only the vertical scrolling is happening on the screen. And if you wish that page wise you wish to see the contents, so we can use pipeline symbol and we can attach more. So when we write when we press enter, we get only those entries which can be accommodated on a single screen, and then further entries will be displayed when you press space bar. So as you know, in the bottom side we are getting more. That means page wise you wish to see the entry, so that one by one you can check up what are the different kind of entries. Now if you look at this entry which I am highlighting, it is a.txt file, and the first column here, because I am using -i option also along with lc, I am not giving -i-l, I am giving in combination -il. So I am giving because I am interested to know the inode number, and l option we are giving just to get the further details, because I am willing to display the details of all these files in long format. So if you see here in this column, in this particular case, this is the second column. So here we are having total 10 characters, which we discussed earlier. Yesterday I told you that when we write ls-l, we get column wise display, and in that case this highlighted column becomes the first column. But since I have used here -i option also, so because of that only it is preceded with inode number. So here this highlighted -rw, -rw, minus, and then r minus minus, this has much significance for a.txt file. If you look at the first character, this is minus sign, that indicates that this a.txt is a regular file. I told you that we are having the first character specifying what is the type of file. So here this minus sign indicates that a.txt is a regular file, And in contrast to that, if you just see the below entry, where at this position we are having alphabet D, so that indicates that B is a directory file. So minus stands for this regular file, and D stands for a directory file. So it is a directory file. And then again you are having some other information, like here 2 times you are getting user. So as I discussed, that we are having the concept of owner or user, and we are having the concept of group. So in particularly my default case, where my user ID is user, here user is also my group, and that is why in both the cases I am getting user. If I create any group with the staff, with the name staff, and if I make this user belong to staff, then in that case at this position you will be getting user, which is the owner of a.txt file, and at this place you will be getting staff. But eventually it happened that in both the cases, I mean user and group both are having the same name. It's possible they can have the same names. So here user is the owner and user is the name of group to which this particular login ID belongs. So here user belongs to user. We'll see later on that how can we create the different kind of login IDs, and how they can be assigned to a particular group. So here then we are having some number that indicates how many bytes we are having occupied on the disk. Then you are having, of course, the date of creation, and then time of creation, and this is the name of the file. So I suppose now it is clear that from this entry, this is the entry corresponding to regular file, and the second one, this is the entry corresponding to directory file. So this we can see. And now if at any stage, if I press space bar, or then I am getting the next screen, and at that position if I am pressing Q, that means I am quitting. I am not interested to know the further display or wish to see the further display. So there only I can quit. So here if I repeat the command once again, and here if I press Q and press enter, so I'm directly coming out of that, and only the first display has come on the screen. So now I'm moving to a directory which I have created, because just now I told you that B is a directory. So I can move to B subdirectory, and look at this key. What path has become now? It's /home/user, because user is the area from where I was working, and this B is the subdirectory in which I have moved. And now if I am interested to know what is there inside this directory, so there is nothing in this directory. So what I can do is I am creating a file with the name touch, and say the name which I am giving to my file is touch dot first dot txt. So if I see I'm having now one entry, and this is the inode number corresponding to first dot txt. And if I am giving -l option, interested to know only in long format, so you see that we are getting this time the total 10 characters as a first column, because now since I is missing in this -l option, so because of that only inode number is not listed. So here what I am getting as first column is the total 10 characters, and here the first minus sign indicates this first dot txt is a directory. Now again, if I am executing mkdir and say I am naming a directory as first directory. So again, if I write ls-l and in long format, so now you are having two entries. One which starts with minus sign, that is the lower one, that indicates that first.txt is a regular file. And the first entry that indicates that starts with alphabet D, so that indicates the first dir is a directory file. Okay. Now, if you look at this this second entry, which the file which I have created. See, in earlier sessions also I told you that touch is not meant for creating a file. It is more than that. Touch is basically used to change the time stamping associated with a particular file. Time stamping means, as suppose I have created a file 5 days back, and today if it is 24th, then I might have created that file on 19th of Feb. And then if I write touch and say the name of that file which I created on 19th of Feb, if the name I kept as second.txt, then what will happen if once again on 24th or Feb, or if today, if I execute touch and the name of that file is suppose second.txt, and if I write touch second.txt, what will happen? The file was created actually on 19th, but now I am changing the time stamping. So what will happen if you further display that file? You will see that the date of creation or the time of creation of that file has changed, and now it has become the current date and time where you have executed touch command. So basically, touch is not used to create any file. It is another thing that since if the file is not existent and you execute touch and you give some file name and say that file is not existing, so the question arises, which timestamp of which file's timestamp this touch command will change. So in that case, it will freshly create a file with 0 byte size, and in that and then it will assign the current date and time as time stamping. So now if I wish to write something in first.txt file, so as we have discussed a meta character greater than sign, so that is also possible that I can write directly to something to first.txt, and there is a editor called gedit. It's similar to notepad of Windows. I mean, I can open this file first.txt with the help of gedit editor, and now this editor has opened, and here if I am writing something like Madan Mohan Malviya, I'm writing some random contents. And you can use the shortcut like Control S to save the contents, and Control Q to come out of this editor. And now once again, if I repeat the previous command, ls-l, just to see the contents, what is there inside this file, inside this directory B. So now I am further getting the two entries corresponding to two things which are currently lying in B subdirectory. And if you look at the second entry, here we are having now 65. That means these many bytes have been assigned to first.txt, which was in the previous display, it was 0 only, because touch has nothing to do with the contents actually. So now this file is there, and if you wish to see the content of this file, so you can simply write first.txt. So whatever we have typed, that we can see on the screen. Now similarly, I can also create another file, and that may be a second file. So again, I'm making use of editor, and I'm giving the name second.ps. So you may write like if I'm writing here ITCA department Linux practice session, and then again I'm using Control S and Control Q coming out of that, and now I'm displaying second.txt. So now I'm having these contents, and as I told you that cat is a concatenation command. It is basically meant for appending the contents of different files which are given as arguments to the cat command. So now I can give cat first.txt and then second.txt. I wish to see both the contents in the combined way, and that is why it is happening on screen, that we are having first the contents of first file coming on the screen up to Uttar Pradesh, and these contents are being followed by the contents of second file. So cat is basically a filter. And why do we say it's a filter? Because as you know that the filter is meant for filtering something for a specific purpose. So here what filter I'm applying on first.txt, second.txt, because I wish that the content of these two files should be displayed on screen in the appended way, and that is why I'm writing cat and then I'm giving two file names. But actually physically there is no change in the content of first.txt and in the content of second.txt. Merely for the display purpose, they are shown as combined content. So if you wish to place these combined contents permanently in some file, so then you can make use of greater than sign, and that is the meta character, by the way, that we discussed in one of the previous lectures. This particular character has a special meaning for shell because it's not an ordinary character. It is simply redirecting the outcome or output of this command to somewhere else. And what else? We are writing third.txt. So we are redirecting the content of these two files to another file named third.txt. Now, whatever earlier appeared on the screen, that was temporarily appeared, because the moment when you go to the next prompt, whatever you have displayed, that was merely for the display purpose. It was not having it has not occupied any storage on the disk. And if you wish to make it permanent, so we are executing this command, because as I told you earlier, that every command by default, by and large, is has to give the output on the screen itself. But if you wish to redirect the output of that command to somewhere else, so for that purpose we can make use of greater than sign. So here one such character that is making redirection is greater than sign. So now I can see the content of third.txt. Sorry, I have done mistake in typing the name of file. So now you see that we are having the contents of this file appearing in this way. It may be possible that when you are redirecting the content of combined content of first.txt and second.txt to third.txt, the third.txt might be already existing in your current directory. For example, if I create a file with the name 4.txt, this is my fourth file, and say I may be typing that suppose this I have stored and I have come out of that down. This is my next file, and now suppose I wish to execute the same previous command that I executed earlier, that I wish to place the contents in some other file. Now what will happen if I give greater than and 4.txt? Obviously first.txt and second.txt contents will override the file 4.txt. So whatever I have typed, I'll be losing in case of this. Like if I write here third, so third mein to there is no change, because already third is having the appended version of first.txt and second.txt. And if I write here 4.txt, then whatever I have typed like ITRC's resource center at MMUT, that will be deleted. So I can use double greater than sign. That stands for output with append. So it is a append operation. That means whatever target file you are specifying after the symbol, the content of that will remain there, and after those contents, the new contents will be appended. So if I write here 4.txt, then what is happening? The previous contents are retained and the new contents, first.txt and second.txt, are appended. So again, if I see the content of this file, so you see here the previous contents up to at MMUT was already there in the 4.txt, so they are kept as it is, and further contents are appended. So I suppose this is clear now. What is the difference between double greater than and greater than? It is the simple difference of output and append. Now in case of greater than sign, it is not bothering whether the target file that in the one of the examples was third.txt was already existing or not. Irrespective to that, it will create this third.txt from the fresh. And because of that only, whatever contents we already had in third.txt, there is no meaning of that. But when we write double greater than sign, that means we are appending. So when we append, so that means we wish to retain the previous contents which are already there in 4.txt. So because of that only, it happened that it has appended the content of first.txt and second.txt after the already existing contents of 4.txt. So I believe now it is clear that what is the difference between greater than sign and double greater than sign. One of the symbols that we discussed earlier was also a pipeline symbol. See, there's a big difference between pipeline symbol and greater than or double greater than. when you write greater than or double greater than, after that whatever you write is the target file where the output should go. It is not supposed that whatever you write after greater than symbol has to be executed on the content of the previous command. I mean double greater than 4.txt का मतलब ये नहीं कि 4.txt has to be executed on first.txt and second.txt contents. Whereas in case of pipeline symbol, what is happening? The output of one command is redirected to the second command as input. So one such example which I showed you earlier was WC. WC is actually a command to count the total number of lines, total number of words, and total number of characters. Like if I give WC and if I write 4.txt, so I'm interested to know only the total number of lines, total number of words, and total number of characters. So because of that only I'm getting 922 140, and that follows this 4.txt file, name of the file. And if I am interested to know only the number of lines, so I can remain confined to -l option, and then again 4.txt. So here I wish to display only the total number of lines. Similarly, -c to get only 22 on screen, total number of characters, and -w, total number of words. But WC minus WC का जो आप use देखेंगे, that is I mean far away from what I have shown over here. Multiple I mean uses of this command you can see. Like one example which I am giving you, that if I go to my previous home directory and if I display ls minus l, what is happening? I mean 2-3 screens are scrolled up, and I'm having too many contents. And if I am interested to know only the total number of entries which we have in this directory, so there I can use ls minus l, and now I'm attaching it with the wc minus l command. So what is happening in this case? Whatever output I used to get on the screen when I execute ls minus l, those contents are redirected to wc minus l. And if you look at wc minus l in a standalone manner, so what is missing in this case is the file name, because after wc minus l I'm supposed to give the file name whose contents are to be counted for number of lines. But in this case, the contents over which wc minus l has to be executed, they are received from the previous command. So when I write ls minus l and pipeline symbol, that means the output of ls minus l is redirected to wc minus l. So whatever I'm supposed to get on screen has been now given to wc minus l, and wc minus l has to be operate upon those contents. But it is not storing those contents as we have seen in case of greater than and double greater than sign. So there, whatever argument you give after that is simply a file name where you wish to have the data stored. So whatever you are writing before double greater than or before greater than, that command must be giving some output on the screen. And since you are writing greater than or double greater than, that means you are interested to redirect the outcome which otherwise you were supposed to get on the screen to a next file, and the file name is specified after greater than sign. So I believe now this difference is clear, because with pipeline symbol we are combining a number of commands together, whereas in case of greater than or double greater than, you are not combining 2 or more commands. You are simply redirecting the output of one command to somewhere else. And what where else which I am mentioning is actually the file where you wish to redirect the output. So this pipeline symbol is also a meta character because it does have a specific meaning. So I'm getting 34, that means 34 entries are there in the current directory. So I believe now this is clear that how can we make use of these commands. And I'm telling you that if somebody is asking you how can we see the content of regular file, so you know that we have to give cat and file name just to display the content of that file. And if somebody is saying that how can we see the content of any directory, then of course it is ls command. And when we give only ls or we give ls minus I, till this point we remain confined to directory file only. But when we write ls minus l, that means we wish to have the additional details about all the entries inside the current directory. So obviously we are not remain confined to directory file contents only. Rather, in directory file content, we are having the mention of the inode table number. So the further details are fetched from the inode table, and both are combined and then presented before you as if they have been fetched from a single source. But though the sources are two different places, because one such source is the content of directory file itself, and second such source is the table, which is actually having the details of that particular file somewhere. So I believe now it is clear ki, what do we have inside the regular file and what do we have inside the directory file. We'll see later on what information we are having in the uh, in this particular inode table corresponding to any file, so that we are getting all these details on the screen. So is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Then we have discussed the concept of user, we have discussed the concept of group, and we have discussed the concept of others. So again, I would like to go back to my screen, and we have seen the concept of regular file and directory file. And device file, if you wish to see the contents, you have to move to /device subdirectory. Like if I write cd, sorry, so this is the directory. So you see here, we are getting display on the screen, and we are having this entry called C, we are having this entry called B. So block oriented, and C is character oriented. So by the way, we are not writing basically device files as a ordinary user. We are making use of device files. I mean, as a user of Windows, can you write any device driver? You may be writing device driver when you become part of any team, which is actually maybe the team deputed by an organization which is interested to develop some device driver for a particular device. So that will be another aspect, but otherwise we are the user of these device files. We are not the creators of these device files. So once again, if I come back to my home directory, so either I have to write cd and then /home/user just to come back to my home directory, as I have done it. And if once again, if I show that if we have gone suppose to root directory, and if I write pwd, I am at root directory. So again, if somebody is asking you to move back to your home directory, either you can use the previous command which already I have shown you, that cd then /home/user, the complete path you have mentioned, or alternatively you can also write cd, and there is a variable which is holding the address of your home directory, that is home variable. And if you are interested to know only the value stored in that variable, so that you can get only when you write $, you precede that variable with $sign. So I mean, before executing this command, I'll show you that if I write echo is basically a print type of command using which I can display the content of any variable. So if I write echo $home, so what I'm getting /home/user, because these are the default variables which have been set by the system itself. So they are basically environment variables, and I'm not creating any home type of variable which is holding the value /home/user. They are by default there as part of shell. So we'll see later on what are these variables. But anyways, here if you write cd, you write home. So now you are by default placed in your home directory, and if you write here pwd, now you are at your home directory /home/user. So one such way you have seen that we may be anywhere, but when we mention the absolute path, we write cd /home/user. So we are placed in that directory because from where we are starting, from the root. From the root we are starting. Okay. And another way is we can write cd $home, because we are interested to move only to home directory, and we know that home is a variable which is holding the which is holding the path of your home directory. So when you write cd $home, that means the value stored in home will be substituted over here. And what is that value? It is /home/user. So it is similar to executing explicitly cd /home/user. So because of that only, nothing apparently happened, and you get this next dollar prompt, and here you are when giving pwd command, so you are getting the complete path. Yes, you have been placed in your home directory. So now coming back to the discussion where I told you that we are having the concept of user, we are having the concept of group members. So again, in order to minimize the contents over which we have to show the examples, I have moved back to my subdirectory called B, because here I am having comparatively lesser number of entries. Okay. So these many entries are only there. Now, since I told you that here the first character indicates what is the type of this first .txt, and because of minus sign, we are concluding that it's a regular file. This RW minus is actually the rights enjoyed by the user of first.txt. And who's the user? Basically the owner or the creator. So since as a person, when I logged into the system, I am placed in user login. So user, as a user, I am owner actually. So my login ID is right now user. I may be having my login ID later on as SPS ITCA. So I can log into the system with SPS ITCA, and in that case, if I create any file, so I'll be having SPS ITCA displayed at this place, because then I'll be the owner of that file. Here as a user, since I am logged into the system, so because of that only I am getting the display of user at this place. So is it okay? And at next place, whatever we are getting is the group to which this particular user or owner belongs. Eventually it happened that the default way, if you create any login ID, so that is by default assigned to this user group, but it's not mandatory always, because in system administration I'll show you that if I'm running two or three courses in my department. One is MCA, MTech, and BTech. So even if I'm not assigning any project, I would like to have different group names. Like I may be choosing group name BTech for BTech students, group name staff for staff of my department, and group name this MTech for MTech students, and group name MCA for MCA students. So in that case, all of you, when you are logged into the system with your respective roll number, so you will be getting your roll number as a user ID, and at this place you'll be getting MCA, because MCA will be the group to which you belong. And who has assigned that group to you by default? It was the super user or admin, and in this case the admin is root. So root is basically assigning any particular group. It is also possible that we may be having a user ID belonging to multiple groups, but we'll see later on how can we do that. But you understand for the time being that there will only be one primary group, and if you are having additional groups, they are termed as secondary groups. So here now I suppose it's clear that at this place when I get user, so it is the user or the owner of this file first.txt, because he has created it, and this is the particular group to which this particular login ID belongs. And see, eventually it happened that both of them are having username. Do not get confused. Then these are the total number of bytes which are consumed by first.txt, and this is the date of creation, and this is the time of creation. Okay. So here we are having the entry. Now RW minus and RW minus, they do have their importance with respect to regular file and with respect to directory file. So that I'll show you on white screen. When I say that the owner, the regular file, and what is the meaning of RWX? When I enjoy reading rights over a regular file, it is possible that I can cat the content of that file. Just I showed you that first.txt was a file that I just tested for looking at the contents. So I just write cat and first.txt. I'm able to execute this command to see the contents of first.txt only because I'm having reading rights. Okay, as a user or as a group member or as a other category, if I'm having reading rights, I mean, if I'm the group member and I'm not currently logged into my area, or I'm currently logged into my area, but I have moved to my colleague's area, and whatever rights he has set for his group members, and suppose I also belong to that group, so they'll become applicable on me. So suppose he might have created a file with the name first.txt, and when I'm moving to his area, I'm having access of first.txt, and I'm able to see the content of first.txt only when reading rights have been given by that owner to me over this file first.txt. So then you can, you just try to understand what is the meaning of reading, and that applies to reading in context to user, reading in context to ग्रुप मेंबर्स एंड रीडिंग इन कॉन्टेक्स्ट टू अदर्स. सबके लिए मतलब यही है. अंतर इतना है कि अगर आप ग्रुप में हैं या अदर्स में हैं, तो इसका मतलब है कि जैसे अगर मैंने अपनी कुछ फाइल्स को, जैसे first.txt एक्चुअली आई क्रिएटेड, और अगर मैंने आपने उसमें अभी मैं दिखा रहा था previous screen पे कि there I showed you that RW rights are there in the second group, RW minus, and that second group of 3 characters was meant actually for group members. So anybody who belongs to my group, say for example any staff member of my department, must be having user as a group ID. So it's possible that he can change his home directory and he can come to my area, and in my area too he is able to see the contents of file first.txt. Why? Because RW rights are applying over there. So RW rights, क्योंकि अभी मैंने आपको दिखाया कि here we are having RW rights like the highlighted portion. This RW minus is applicable to whom? It is applicable to those users or logins who belong to this group user. So if somebody who also belongs to user group is just logged into the system and changing his home directory, coming to my directory because he knows the path of mine, and then suppose he is trying to see the content first.txt, he'll be able to see. Why? Because here I have given reading rights. Okay, these reading rights applies to those people who are coming to my area but they belong to the same group. There may be a person who doesn't belong to user group, so that may be a person in the category of others, but that person can also come to my area, can see the content of first.txt, but he can simply read out the content. That means it is possible that he can also come to my area and he can get the content, but if he is making gedit editor, he is making use of gedit editor and trying to modify the content of first.txt, he is not allowed. Why? Because there is no W right after R, so he cannot modify. Similarly, in the previous case, when my group member is moved to my area and he is trying to modify the content of first.txt, he is able to do that operation. Why? Because he enjoys W rights over this file. So ये जो RW minus जो ये second group है, that applies actually to all those users who are members of the same group to which I belong. So when they are coming to my area, so they'll be able to see the content of all those files where I have given R rights. Like if you see first.txt, 4.txt, second.txt, third. At all the places I am having R. That means they are able to see the content. And at all the places I am having www also. That means they are able to modify the contents. But they cannot execute. By the way, whatever file I showed you earlier was not having executable contents, because if I am writing Madan Mohan Malviya inside a file, so do you think that this file can be executed? No, there is no executable content inside that file, so that cannot be executed. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे माइनस साइन जो है एग्जीक्यूशन को स्टेट कर रहा है. दैट मींस whether that person will be able to execute that file or not. You may consider that instead of first.txt, if I am having the executable version of any of my C program, then it is possible that if my group member is coming to my area, so he'll be able to, he may try to execute that file, and if minus sign is there at the third place as at the position which I have just highlighted on the screen, so then in that case it is not possible for him to execute my executable C program. He cannot execute, reason being there is no X permission. So, and the third category, you know that this group is applicable to those members who don't belong to this particular group called user. So when they are coming, it is possible only for them to see the contents, but they can never modify the contents, and neither they can execute because there is no X permission. So is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So Now, I suppose it is clear that how what is the significance of these RWX over a regular file. Now, directory file में भी RWX होता है. So what is that meaning? If in my example I have taken B as a directory file. So if suppose at $prompt, if I give the pwd command, I am getting the path /home/user, and once again I am getting $prompt. That means right now I am in my home directory. Then if I give the command cdb, see, when you are not starting any file name or path with slash, so that means you are not giving absolute path, you are giving the relative path. Relative path का मतलब ये होता है कि before that, since slash is not written, so whatever path, default path is there, that is considered to be the, that is considered to proceed before this b. So when I give cdb, it is similar to giving cd/home/user/b. This is the absolute path where you are mentioning the complete path. This is the relative path. Why it is relative? Because we have not mentioned anything before B. So that means whatever path till now is applicable over my login, that is there. And after that, I am moving to B. So writing simply cdb is similar to writing cd/home/user/b. So this is the absolute path. And this is the, in this case, it is the lower one. जहाँ पे B मैंने खाली लिखा, it is the relative path. So now I have moved inside B. Now, can you imagine ki what is the implication of RWX over B? When somebody enjoys reading rights over any directory file, so that means he is able to execute ls command. I mean, you can see the content of B, because I have moved inside B, and now if I am writing ls-l, I am getting some files displayed on screen which are the part of subdirectory B. I am able to list out the contents only because I am having reading rights over this B directory. Acha, when the content of any directory is modified, because just now I told you that we are having simply the file names and the corresponding inode numbers inside the directory. When the content of directory are supposed to change, when we are making any new entry, okay, or we are modifying it, deleting something, so that corresponds to, if I make a further directory inside B, say my further directory is BS, subdirectory of B. So I'll be able to execute make dir only because I'm having W rights. Similarly, if I wish to delete this BS, so that is again a sort of modification, because when you write mkdir BS, that means you are adding one entry in the directory contents. So directory contents are getting modified. So when they are getting modified, it's possible that you can do only when you are having W rights. Similarly, when we are deleting something from the existing contents of my current directory, so the directory contents are once again modified. So that is possible only when you are having W entry. That means if I am not having W rights over any directory, I cannot create any file inside that directory, neither I'll be allowed to delete anything from that directory. So that is the implication of reading and writing over this directory file. Okay. Now, what is the implication of X? In case of regular files, so we know that if my Java program is compiled or my C program is compiled, so it becomes an executable file, because the object code is always executable. So once you have translated that program using C compiler, so you must have generated executable file, and that executable file you can run. Okay. So there, so it seems okay or logical that we are having X permission, because we are running that program. If I'm not having any X permission, I cannot run that program, even if that file is executable or in machine language, but I cannot run. Reason being, I'm not enjoying X right over that file. So यहाँ पे what is the meaning of X on directory file? Because directories are never executed. But you understand that if I'm not having X right, then I cannot move inside that directory. I mean, you cannot use B in the path in the path of any command. If I write this, see, when I am placed in B, what I have done, I have written CDB. That means I am using a relative path, or it is considered to be absolute path similar to slash home slash user slash B. So you are not allowed to make use of B in any of the path if you do not have X permission over B. So इसका मतलब है कि if I am revoking X permission is opposite to granting X permission. Granting is, I mean, you are adding some new permission, and revoking means any existing permission you are taking back. So if I am revoking X permission from any directory, that means now I am making that directory inaccessible. So if in the case of group members, if X permission is missing for any directory, that means if somebody is coming to my area, है ना, अब B में अगर आप देखें तो वहां पे there was missing X permission जो in the previous contents, like if you look at this, so here I'm having this first dir, I'm having first dir, or eventually here if you look at the third group, second group, sorry, second three are the rights actually which are meant for group members. So they enjoy reading, writing, execution. I mean, they can come to my area and they can move even to first dir subdirectory, and they are able to execute ls command because they have reading rights. Then W indicates even it is possible for them to create any file inside first dir, or the opposite also true, that even it is possible that they can come to first dir subdirectory and they can delete some files. So, and the third X indicates that it is possible that they can move to first dir directory. See, if I revoke this, see the detailed discussion I'll make of this command chmod tomorrow or in the next lecture, by the way. But here, if I write G minus X, that means I am revoking X permission from where? From the group members. ये जो G है, that indicates the group members. And over which file I am revoking the X permission? It is first dir. Now see the implication of this command. If I execute ls minus l, look at this rw minus, and look at this entry rwx. That means in the previous example, X permission was there. This X was there. Because of that only first dir was accessible to all those who belong to the same group. They can come to my area, they can move inside first dir. But since here I have revoked the permission, X permission, so anybody who is coming to my area will not be able to move inside first dir. वो नहीं उसके अंदर जा सकता क्योंकि वो उसको पाथ की तरह यूज नहीं कर सकता. So now I have made this first dir safer. Because similarly, it is possible that you can make your home directory inaccessible to others, and when it happens, that means nobody can come to your area. Chmod G minus X. Now $home has given what? It has given my home directory path. So that means G minus X is applicable where? It is applicable to /home/user. That means I have made it safer against any intruder who may be eventually the part of the same group. So now if any of my colleague is trying to come to my area, he cannot come. Why? Because I have taken back X permission over the directory of my home. So because of that only he cannot, it is not possible for them to make use of cd/home/user, or if it is spsitca, he cannot use /home/spsitca. Why? Because X permission is not there for group members. Okay. So I suppose this is now clear to you. More details about this reading, writing, and execution permissions we'll discuss in the next lecture. By the way, this is called commonly as triad of permissions. Triad of permissions, because we are having permissions. Because we are having permissions arranged in at 3 levels: at the level of group, who is also called owner; at the level of at the level of user, who's also called owner at the level of group and at the level of others. And significance, you know that if any of any login ID is created by admin or super user, and say for example, if he or she is creating a login ID with the name SPS ITCA, then it is mandatory for him to decide my group also. So there may be a group called staff. So if 2 or 3 faculty members of my department, they are assigned the same group name staff. So that means we enjoy all those rights with each other, for which group rights are set on our personal files. So like since I'm logged in here as a user, so first.txt, 4.txt, for all of them, the rights of my colleagues are key when they are trying to come physically to my area, they are having reading, writing, but no X permission, no execution permission. And it's not possible for them ki once they have come to my area, they can try to execute G plus X permission. No, they cannot. Reason being, these permission addition and revocation can be made only by the actual owner of the file. So it's not possible that I can move to your area and there I modify the permissions of your own files. No, it's not possible. Only owners is supposed to make the corrections or changes. No group member, no other can come to your area and can modify the permissions related to your files. Okay. So whatever permissions you are setting for group members, whatever permissions you are setting for other members, they will be applicable to all your created files. So because of that only, it is possible that normally it is said that everybody is responsible for the security of his own contents. I mean, it is you who have to decide how much access should be given to any other person. And we cannot say that Linux is insecure. Linux is giving you enough tools so that you can make your area very safe, and it's very simple to execute, because you know that if you are revoking X permission from the home directory, nobody can come to your home directory and your files are totally safe. But you look at the biggest advantage of this aspect. It is possible that my colleague and me, both of us are working on the same project. So obviously I would like to have this flexibility that if he is absent in department, so at least I can log into my area with my own credentials, I mean user ID and password, and then I can move to his area and I can see what he has created. I can I mean modify even the contents, because if he has given W permissions, so even it is possible that I can modify the contents. Similar is the case of my login, because my colleague can also come to my area and whatever group permission settings I have given over different files, they'll be applicable to him, and he will do accordingly. I mean, he'll be having the rights accordingly. So we should look at this flexibility in that sense. It is very open-ended, and you have the flexibility of sharing your files without making any compromise with your friends, without making any compromise even with others also. And it is also possible that if you are strict enough, so you can restrict the access of your files to somebody. Maybe that fellow may belong to your group, or he may not be belonging to your group. And if somebody is not belonging to your group, he falls in the category of others, and on him these three rights, the last three rights, are applicable. So with this, I'm ending my lecture, and in the next lecture, we'll further continue this discussion, because we'll see how we can make use of chmod command for adding or subtracting the permission from any person over a particular file. हाँ सर, नमस्कार. हाँ 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 सर, असल आप करा लीजिएगा. हमारा एडमिशन सेल की भी कई मीटिंग्स हैं, आप करा लीजिएगा. हम बाद में उसमें जो आप करेंगे हम साइन कर देंगे. ठीक है सर.